My name is Ben Thompson. I'm the creative director for Hearthstone. Essentially, I work with all different aspects of the team, be they art, user interface, some design, uh, audio, VO, and basically just help figure out how best to work together and create an overarching, complete, not only story, but just kind of vibe and feel for each and every set. It's actually a story we've been waiting to tell as far back as League of Explorers. I mean, when we made League of Explorers, we introduced a whole different band of characters to what was already the Explorers League in Warcraft. So Bran got to return, but all the other three characters were totally new. And as we explored the story through them, we immediately kind of asked ourselves the question of, well, what if there was a villains version of this? Like, who are the bad guys to fight these good guys? And it was a question that kind of stayed in the back of our heads and rolled around for a bit as we would go set to set. And some years later, kind of by happenstance, we started looking around and realized like we've introduced a lot of singular villains, right? We've got Togwaggle for the Kobolds and Catacombs, we've got Hagatha for the Witchwood, and so on and so forth. Until we realized like that's the cast, like there's our villains right there. Let's just put them together and see how well they play together. Turns out they don't play very well together, but they're trying. And through all of the exploits, past, they're gonna come up with a plan. And boy, do they have one! And it's come to fruition with the single player with Rise of Shadows in just under a month's time, where players will get to see just what that plan is and probably take part in helping them execute it. It's something that Hearthstone has always felt like we did well when it came to vibe and just kind of general tonal setting for each and every set. But when it came to a story like this, where it's not just one or two central characters, but five just for the League of Evil, and then any other characters we need to start to add to that pantheon to tell the whole of the story. And we realized this is a lot more than just one set's worth. We're going to have to probably take three for the year to really go for this arc of the story that we want to tell. As with any good story, there's going to be twists, there's going to be turns, there'll be some delightful surprises along the way, and we haven't even begun to see where this ends up going. So we really look forward to seeing what players think, but we very much look forward to seeing where they take this. Well, I think you've seen the main cast of villains. There's going to be some other smaller potatoes, so to speak, that get added to the mix when we start going into the single player portion. But I'm sure you're referring to, say, I don't know, the Lich King or others. And the idea there generally is that Rafam really wants to take center stage. There's no way he's going to let anyone upstage him. So this is his team. He put it together. He gets to pick who's going to be involved, and it's not going to be anybody more popular than himself taking stage. I think there's value when you're reintroducing a character. There's a lot of value to having some familiarity there. They are, after all, the same character, but putting a twist into them in such a way that there is some unexpected quality there as well. The idea that it's Rafam again, but it's going to be Rafam in a slightly different way or a different take. In the case of the five villains, I think that's where a lot of the interest came from. This revisiting some of the mechanics that were very familiar in the sets that they first appeared. So for Rafam, his is very reminiscent of Golden Monkey. And that callback to League of Explorers is very fun for players who were along for the ride with League of Explorers, and it kind of brings a smile to their face, and they're like, I know where that comes from, I know why that's there. And then for players that are new and haven't maybe played League of Explorers, it's still a fun mechanic and one that they get a lot out of. And if they later come to discover or understand where that mechanic actually came from, they'll smile too, just for a different reason. I think we don't want the assumption to be that every time a set comes out that a hero card would accompany it. Certainly for good reason, that was true in the Frozen Throne, right, where it was like that was the elegant design around a new class introduction in the form of this new hero card that was going to be spread 9 different ways across 9 different classes. It was introduced again, albeit somewhat smaller, with individual characters in Doomsday Project with Doctor Doom or Hagatha and Witchwood. But those were sets that were very centralized around those characters, and what they did and how they did it was very much of the vibe of that whole set and kind of really made them the villain or the hero interchangeably for that set. We've got 5 this time in Rise of Shadows. I don't think there was any one specifically where we felt like we wanted to call them out, even if you did want to say that was Rafam. It wasn't something that we wanted to lean wholly into the mechanic for Rafam for this set. That's not to say that future sets won't have them, but it's certainly in the Rise of Shadows case, it didn't feel like it was necessitating of a hero card being introduced. I mean, there's certainly overlaps between both of the franchises. If you look at World of Warcraft and Hearthstone, yes, there are definitely some overlaps. At the same time, we wouldn't expect that all of them come back looking exactly the same as they did in Warcraft. Otherwise, Gul'dan would be a skull, and he's not very useful that way. So we chose to kind of see Gul'dan in that instance as like the greatest warlock ever to actually represent the hero. So when it comes to Khadgar, I don't think it's a slight to Khadgar. I just don't think that everybody gets to be a 10-10 and see a lot of play. Who knows? Maybe Khadgar gets a buff at some point or another if he gets reintroduced in a way that somehow centers around the story of who Khadgar is and why it would be important for him to be seen in that way. So. I know that the design team as a whole was really excited to introduce a Warcraft character, as we always are whenever that happens, but to do so in such a way that, again, brings that smile to the face of people who know. If you don't know, it's like, okay, out comes this Pandaren chef, and it summons all these different kind of burnt things. At the same time, if you do know Chef Nomi, like, that in that quest, whenever you gave Chef Nomi something to cook, it would always come back to you burnt. It was just, you'd do it every time expecting it to be different, and there it was, burnt, every time it was handed back to you. So I know Dave Kosak and certainly other designers on the team just with glee introduced a character like this, knowing the lore as he did coming from the WoW team. And to get it to kind of evoke for the Hearthstone players for the first time is like, yeah, everything's all burnt and all singed. And he says it laughingly every time.